Coverage of the Southland Helicopters New Zealand Jet Boat Championships are brought to you in association with the Rees. The Rees is one of Queenstown's newest and most exciting luxury developments. The Rees, where the views are truly remarkable. Welcome to Queenstown, the adventure capital of the world, and also home to the best jet boating on the planet. For the next few days, this will be home to one of the fastest jet boat fields you'll find anywhere. Over the next 5 days, the drivers and navigators will tackle the Dart, Clutha and Matukituki rivers around Queenstown, then the Wairau, Oreti and Mataro in Southland, before finishing on the Wairau and Shotover rivers.
Speed's going to play a part, but reliability is going to play a big part. And the guy, as you make a mistake, you fall down. The guy who doesn't make a mistake, he doesn't have to go fast. Neville Kelly's going to take a lot of beating. Neil Ross is going to take a lot of beating. Those are the two guys you've got to worry about.
Unfortunately for us, there's going to be more horsepower involved, so the bigger boats, the rivers are up, they get a better chance, they can use their horsepower. When the rivers are low, the lower class boats like us get more of a chance. It's more of a challenge, more driver skill involved.
It's Monday morning and so much for a slow start. The first leg is a flat-out race over Lake Wakitipu. The 3-kilometre criterium from Queenstown to Frankton will seed the boats before they hit the rivers in anger. It's a magnificent sight as the boats leave Queenstown Bay. Normally there's a strict speed limit here, but not today. Queenstown's Neville Kelly was hoping to make an early impression, but not like this.
Stop again.
Not the result Neville was after, because he's not on the result sheet. So while the other drivers head to the start of the first river, he's back to dry land to try and fix the boat.
Why would it bind like, why would it start? You dropped the shim off the bay when you pulled it out. Have you had the...
Not how you wanted to start the day.
No, not really, was it? No. But it's just one of those things, spin the wearing.
Just like that, you started the blue.
Yep, just spun it up, spun the wearing up and picked up.
You reckon you'll be able to fix it?
Yep, whatever it is, it's just trying to get the shock of the bolt to see turning like that.
Means you're going to have to pass a lot of boats.
Yeah, that's what it means, isn't it? Yeah, past a few, but never mind, it's just one of those things. Yeah.
While Kelly's crew work frantically to get him back in the water, the rest of the field head to Glenorchy for the first river leg up the Dart. First off the lake and into the difficult Dart River is Garth McMaster. Leading the charge in the unlimited boats, Sean Kelly is next off. Conditions couldn't be better for McMaster, who's already looking unbeatable in the race for the Campbell Electric C-Class title. While Sean Kelly may be mindful of his brother's bad luck in the criterium, has adopted a more steady approach. He isn't taking much time off McMaster, but he's still the quickest of the unlimited boats. And that includes Robert Thompson, who is one of the quickest in the criterium. But as always, the boat to beat is NZ1, driven by Neil Ross. Like Garth McMaster, he's showing devastating early form. Sean Kelly's lack of pace wasn't down to caution though. His supercharger isn't exactly so super. But there's no shortage of charge from Neil Ross. Several spectators have made the most of the bridge to get a great view of these boats at full speed. But you'd be hard-pressed to beat these shots from Christchurch Helicopters' aerial cameras. And speaking of flying, check out Jason Scott's hammerhead look. It's his front wing for high-speed runs. Chris Campbell may be a rookie, but he's got one huge advantage. He's driving Kiwi #1 Neil Ross's old winning boat. In the Cantech Engineering Class B race, Jason Murdoch is showing the early pace. But as well as the full-on racing machines, there's a sizable field of Class D and sports boats in this year's marathon. Gord Humphreys has made a flying start in the Clutha Jet D class. Now, one of the reasons for the number of smaller boats is that the world champs will be raced on these rivers next year, and this is the perfect chance to check things out. Several Canadians have made the trip south for this very reason. Don't expect to see drivers like Rob Chinook taking such a casual approach next year. But likewise, don't let Paddy Stratton's wave fool you. These guys are still turning in some quick times. And as you can see from Mark Cromie, on a river like this, it's foot to the floor all the way. For the faster boats, braided rivers mean equally fast thinking, as you can see from on board Jason Scott's boat. Now watch how not to stay in the channel. But Scott's not the only driver to feel the sharp end of the dart. But as you're about to also see, there's no such thing as too stuck, as long as the chopper's handy. So after the first river stage, you can see Neil Ross winning the leg well ahead of James Murdoch and Sean Kelly.
We pre-boated the river, and the channel we went up, she dried up from Friday till the Monday. We thought we'd get out of the top. There's nowhere to go whatsoever.
What does it feel like doing 90 miles an hour and just seeing that the river runs out?
It's a good feeling, put it that way. But yeah, very disappointing at the end of the day. That's the worst part about it. Yeah.
Leg 3 sees the drivers turn right around to take the trip back down the Dart River. Lined up and ready to go, and as you can see, Jason Scott's already back in the race, but this time staying in the channel. And still going good and hard and sounding $1 million is Garth McMaster. Sean Kelly still struggling with the lack of puff from his supercharger though. But out front, Neil Ross continues to skip clear. Now to see how quick Ross is going, listen to Chris Campbell as he lifts off on the same stretch of river. Like he was the first time through, James Murdoch is quickest in B class, so he continues to lead. One of the strange things about the marathon is the boats are often quicker upstream. Stu Turner is one of the few drivers to go quicker back down the Dart. But so does Ross Bailey. He cut Murdoch's lead to just a minute in Class B. Bonner Anderson beat them all. He was one of the slowest up the dart, but is a remarkable 10 minutes quicker going down. Now take a look at Stephen Lang and you can get a great idea of how quickly the crews have to make their decisions. Still in the water and off the gravel, Jason Scott's charging on. Due to his overland excursion, he started from the back, which means he's doing plenty of passing. Now here's a great look at how hard the Christchurch helicopter team worked to get their pictures. But the results are worth it. But not everyone's going as well as Class C contender Gary Southland, as the dart continues to catch drivers out. And there's proof of Bonner Anderson's improvement, only Jason Scott and Neil Ross faster. So Ross goes 3 minutes clear from Garth McMaster overall, and in the unlimited class, Sean Kelly is the leader from rookie Chris Campbell. James Murdoch's a minute ahead of Ross Bailey in B class, while Garth McMaster leads Class C. Class D belongs to Gord Humphreys. Canuck Paddy Stratton leads the Chemdry Southland Sport Jets. Day 4 and we're on the mighty Clutha River, infamous for catching out more jet boats than any other river in the region. But when you're running as hot as Neil Ross, even the Clutha is a breeze. Garth McMaster has been the surprise package so far, dominating Class C and posing the biggest threat so far to Neil Ross. Also looking good as B-class leader James Murdoch. But Class B compatriot Ross Bailey is slower, but he's also consistent. Despite being passed by Chris Campbell here, he's still very much a contender in his class. It's clear Campbell is quickly coming to terms with the champion boat, while Rob Pauley's giving the chopper a run for its money in his unlimited monster. But for Jason Scott, it's another day of overtaking as he tries to make up for yesterday's excursion. Also back with a vengeance is Neville Kelly. It's a case of what might have been already had he not broken down on the start line yesterday. Another driver playing catch-up is Bonner Anderson, who had a slow start. All the smaller boats in the marathon are posting impressive times, especially Gord Humphreys in the Sport Jets. Well, Hamda's Brendan Cameron is well in control in the D-class race. But there's still plenty of fight. Paddy Stratton is under attack from a fellow Canuck. Over the 40k leg, compatriot Rob Kruniak has managed to sneak past. Meanwhile, John Derry is on his way to posting the second fastest time for a Class C boat on the Clutha. And Stephen Langan's second quickest in the Class A boats. But Gary Southland couldn't have picked a worse time to beach his boat. Garth McMaster had just broken down, handing him the Class C lead. The boat looks okay, but can he hold on to his newfound lead? And after the stage, we can see how much of a point Neville Kelly was out to make, beating Neil Ross by 15 seconds.
We started last, so we just had to chisel away, but it was, no, it was good boating. That's the first time I put that boat in a river, you see, so it's going good.
But how good will he go on the Matukituki River? It's considered one of the toughest in the marathon. It's another braided river, so a real test for driver and navigator. But Neil Ross just keeps marching on. But right behind the Golden Rocket, and a sort of tribute to Ross, is his old boat, piloted by marathon rookie Chris Campbell. Ross Bailey is pushing hard in the Cantech Engineering B class. He's second behind James Murdoch. He's looking better all the time as well in the overall standings. And more than just a foreground to a stunning backdrop, Daniel Anderson is right behind Bailey in Class B. But the Matukituki is starting to show its stripes. Here it catches out James Murdoch. And you can see he wasn't the first. But he's left standing while Ross Bailey runs off with the lead in Class B. Well, one helicopter plays rescue, this one plays chase as Jason Scott flies through the Matukituki. But like Neville Kelly, he still has a lot of work to do after both had those early problems on the first day. But there's no sign of either driver giving up the ghost. Alistair Hay is another driver who got off to a dodgy start, but he's also starting to come right. But for poor old Sean Kelly, it just gets worse. His supercharger has given up altogether. He's losing massive chunks of time, and there's nothing he can do but push his foot flat and possibly through the floor. Now here's a before shot of Rob Coburn, right before he made the wrong turn.
Oh, well, we screwed up. The channel's over there. We're coming around the corner and we ended up here, grounded. So it's very hard work. So not far from the finish line either.
So another win for Neville Kelly, but Neil Ross's lead is still looking safe. Now it's time for the boats to turn round and head back down the Matukituki. Chris Campbell is still having a stunning day. This morning he was 6th overall. Now he's second to Neil Ross. Ross, though, is looking extra safe, especially in Class A. Stu Turner is 14 minutes behind. Now, while it looks straightforward from above, at river level, the overcast day is making it hard for crews to pick up the best channels. Just see if you can see where the shallow and deep water is. Remember, the drivers are doing this at around 140 to 60 k's an hour. And as you can see, it's even harder from the navigator's eye view. After doing a jet boat whale stranding on the way up, Rod Pauly is making good time on the downhill run. But for Botter Anderson, the great run on the Matukituki is about to come to a sudden end. And it's just not turning out to be a good time for the Anderson brothers. Just watch as Rob Crunnock's sport boat passes the stricken Daniel. In C-Class, Gary Southland has recovered from his collision with the gorge wall and is back at full steam. And cruising home for another day in front, Neil Ross canters over the line. So another leg win for Cully, but Ross's lead is safe and sound.
That river up there, that caught a few people out, didn't catch you?
No, well, we probably could say been around a wee bit too long. I know this river really well. I got the utmost respect. We had to be very careful. We had slow times, but that doesn't matter. To finish first, you've got to first finish.
And you have finished?
Yeah, thank heavens for that.
What about your day?
Day's been good. Dry feet, WDF, warm dry feet.
Good day, huh?
Good day at the office.
2 days down, how happy are you?
Well, considering that we've just put a new engine in it, and it's very, very happy, and it's going pretty good.
You never know what happens in the end. They're dropping like flies.
We want to catch Neil Ross. He makes the boats and did the engine for us, so it'd be nice for us to beat him.
And it's blowing out a gasket on the chiller. So we've opted to pull the supercharged belt off and just go naturally aspirated, which is really inhibiting. Tomorrow we'll pull it all to bits. At least we got up and down the Matuki unscathed. There was a lot of carnage up there today. It was tricked a lot of people.
So overall, it's nearly a 10-minute lead for Ross over Chris Campbell. Campbell, though, is easily winning the Unlimited over Cully, and Ross likewise in A-Class. Ross Bailey looks safe in B-Class, while Gary Sutherland's crash hasn't cost him the lead in Class C. In D-Class, it's Brendan Cameron, and Rob Crunnock still rules the sport jets. Welcome to the sausage capital of New Zealand, Tuatapere. We're on the Wairau River for day 4 of the Christchurch Helicopters Jet Boat Championships. After heading south to Invercargill on day 3, the field has come to the green waters of Western Southland. Braided shallows have been replaced by deeper tree-lined rivers, and it's foot to the floor for leader Neil Ross and its closest competitor, Chris Campbell. The toughest job here is flying the helicopter and trying to keep up with the jet boats. But at these speeds, vigilance is essential. A straight branch can end a race. After a day to work on his boat, Sean Kelly has managed to breathe some life into his supercharger, but it's still not 100%. Jason Scott is right at home, and so he should be. Southland is his home turf, and he continues to cut down Sean's lead. But once again, it's Neville Kelly doing most of the damage. Likewise, Bonner Anderson, who's back to full power and reeling in the slower boats. This part of the Wairau River is a straight-out drag race. These boats are foot to the floor, well in excess of 160 kilometres an hour. After days of battling braided rivers, this is a chance for the drivers to let off some steam. But near the top of the river, it starts to look more like jet boat country again. The boats are nearing the Wairau's infamous rock garden, and you can see the pace has slowed markedly. Kelly is again the fastest, more than 50 seconds quicker than Neil Ross. But it's a bumpy ride, no matter how good you are. Despite this being Jason Scott's home turf, he's well off the pace being set by Kelly. Watch here as he goes left at the rock garden. Now it turns out to be a good choice. Most of the boats behind him choose to take the right channel and get a much bumpier ride for their troubles. Even with three wise men on board, Mark Cromie decides to go right. Maybe, though, he's doing research. Remember, he's a former world champion, and he's getting ready for his big assault next year. Also doing research, Rob Crunick goes left, continuing his smooth ride in the sport jet race. Alistair Hay, though, goes right, which was wrong. And as we take a look from above, you can see just why they call this the rock garden. And again, it's Neville Kelly on top. No sign of Jason Scott. Leg 8 takes the boys back down the Wairau towards Tuatapere. Maybe a feed of some of those sausages. And maybe he's hungry because Neil Ross is back on the chart, setting the fastest times early in the leg. B-class leader Ross Bailey shows how the Wairau really is two rivers in one. For Sean Kelly, the rapids are the easy bit. It's his engine that's doing the rough running. After his slow upstream run, Jason Scott isn't mucking round on the way down. Neither is Bonner Anderson. But once again, no one is pushing harder than Neville Kelly. After his boat failed to make it over the start line on day one, he's had an incredible run of leg victories, charging through the field. But the incredible run is about to come to a sudden stop, because at 160 k's an hour, there simply is no margin for error.
So, what happened here?
What happened? We're making pretty good time down the river there actually, but just up here the river splits off, and at sort of 100 odd miles an hour you've got to make a split decision whether you go left or right. We chose to go right. There's a few bits of stones and that to go across to get back into the main flow, but as we come back into the main flow, the sponson of the boat grabbed, spun us sideways, and then we just rolled from there. Yeah, Neville's alright, he's got a bit of a cut. I've got a sore leg, but the boat that's been supplied to us by Mark Cromie is a bit second hand. But that's motorsport, isn't it? You have your good days and your bad days. Today's our bad day. Cheers.
That left Ross to claim the stage from Jason Scott.
We're over half distance in this event. You've got a big lead, but anybody you're still worried about?
As far as competitors, no. I mean, every time you jump on the boat, of course, you're always wondering, will a coil fail or will something fail? We're taking it easy now. We're going to pull the power out of it now, and we're just going to cruise, because, I mean, it is a marathon. To finish first, you've got to first finish. I've said that before.
What's going to be your plan for the rest of the event? Can you come back? Can you do anything?
Oh, we're sitting in 6th at the moment. Just depends on attrition. We could fall out, or people in front of us could fall out, so for whatever reasons. So we'll just hang there. We're 6 leagues to go, so there's still we're still there. We're still finishing every race.
You're here because next year on this course is the Worlds?
That's correct, yeah.
What are you here to learn?
Well, we've run most of the rivers. We've actually boated this river. We haven't competed on it. But it's more to see, just get familiar with where the launch spots are, where the takeouts are. And on some of the rivers, like the one we just ran this morning, you'll remember that river. It won't change much. There's only 2 or 3 bad spots on it, so it won't change for next year.
Leg 9 takes us to central Southland as we head up the Oreti River. And yet again, Neil Ross takes to another river like the multiple champion he is. In B-class, Ross Bailey is in a similar position. He has a sizable buffer, so there's no need for the kind of heroics that ended Neville Kelly's race. A class win, though, is only wishful thinking for Stu Turner, with Neil Ross nearly 50 minutes clear in Class A. Queenstown's Jason Scott, however, isn't out of the running yet. And on his home river, he's unstoppable. Another driver with some catching up to do is Bonner Anderson. Here he's catching up to and trying to get past the Class B boat of Ken Buchanan. McMaster is another Southern man, and he matches some of the unlimited times despite being in a Class C boat. It shows the advantage of home ground knowledge. Despite the good performance, it's still not enough to catch Class C leader Gary Southland. So after stage 9, it's clear Jason Scott is now the man to watch. But the man they're all watching from behind is Neil Ross, still looking unstoppable. With Chris Campbell second, he leads the unlimited class with Ross nearly 50 minutes clear in Class A. Ross Bailey's holding out Dan Anderson in B class, Gary Sutherland C, with Cameron and Crunick rounding out the leaders. Day 4 and it's back on the Oreti. Today's first leg is a repeat of yesterday's final run. Again, we're heading upstream on the Oreti, 66 k's from Wilson's Crossing to Lumsden. Back on his home river, it's clear Jason Scott has picked the perfect time to make his move for a podium spot. Looking at the speed he's going now, he must wonder what could have been if he hadn't had that accident earlier in the race. Sean Kelly only holds a 4-minute lead over Scott for second in the unlimited class. And now making it even easier for Scott, Kelly's continuing supercharger troubles. Garth McMaster continues his fight back after Tuesday's breakdown, beating all but Jason Scott on this leg. With Stu Turner out of the running, Bonner Anderson takes second in the class. But like Turner, catching Ross is only a dream. And in true brotherly fashion, Dan Anderson is also second in his class. Both have bounced back well from their earlier dramas. Class B leader Ross Bailey truly is a man on a mission. But what he doesn't realise is that he's on a road to nowhere. But what you want to watch is how he gets out of trouble. And that's where we say goodbye to the Oreti, the river where Jason Scott was unbeatable, claiming the Alan Baxter Memorial trophies for his troubles. And looking at the leaderboard, you can see it was the local boys, Scott and McMaster, doing all the damage ahead of Ross.
Jason, another really quick time this morning.
Yeah, everything went well. As I said, she's my home river, and that's what I was out to prove.
You passed Sean quite early on. You've probably taken second in class?
We'll be very close to second equal there somewhere, I'd say. We're only a few seconds in it.
Daniel, this morning Jason was real fast up that river. He's now less than 2 minutes behind on this leg. You think he can do it?
Like I said, we're just going to keep pushing as hard as we can, and fingers crossed, yeah, we keep going.
Have you got more speed?
We've swapped things around again from this morning, so yeah, we have got a little bit more speed on this leg, but not enough to keep up with Jason.
We tried the boat out a bit more than we had the day before, so...
Yeah, I hear there's a story about that.
Yes, unfortunately we got way out to the left-hand side and ran out of water and had to jump a shingle bar back into the main channel, but luckily it was a straight hit onto the shingle and over and back in, so it didn't affect us too much.
Next stop is the Mataro River, best known for its brown trout. You can bet they'll be ducking for cover today. Chris Campbell continuing his rookie run, still leading the unlimited class. Ross Bailey got in some good practice dodging trees on the Oreti, so he's more than ready for the Mataro's hazards. The wings may be off, but Jason Scott is still flying. Watch here how he catches Daniel Anderson. He may not hold the overall lead or even stand a chance of getting it, but Jason Scott's the man to watch. Daniel may be slowing down, but nobody's getting past Bonner Anderson, the Tiano driver holding on tight to second in Class A. But how's this for a double act? Sportjet driver Rob Criddock is managing to do his World Champs recce and lead his class at the same time. Focused firmly on just one job, Alan Morrison is on track for a top 3 finish in Class B. But the flying Class C boy Garth McMaster's giant-killing run is about to come to an end. Tim Taylor is still going strong though, coming second now in Class C. But the leg belonged to Jason Scott, well ahead of Neil Ross. After a quick breather, it's back onto the Mataro for the upstream leg. You can see that Jason Scott has gone back to the hammerhead look, and if the wing's on, it means he means business. Or in this case, it means he's chasing rainbows. Or Dan Anderson. But there's no pot of gold, just a gold boat called NZ1, which is still out of reach. Neil Ross has had a faultless race. All he has to do is keep doing what he's been doing already, and no one will catch him. But Dan Anderson looks like he's given up his fight to stay in front of Jason Scott. With McMaster out, Gary Sutherland is on track for a class win. He just has to stay out of trouble, unlike earlier. This playground for trout can be a nightmare for a speeding jet boat. But it's another cruise for Ross, still comfortably out in front. But something's going on. Ross Bailey's arrived and there's no sign of Chris Campbell.
Somebody said like a little wrong channel and a hard turn.
No.
Down by the first bridge?
No. No.
Eyewitnesses?
No. Totally incorrect. You don't want to believe what you hear, you see.
Oh, okay. I don't want to believe. Okay. Okay. But of course you wouldn't own up to it anyway, would you?
No.
Jason Scott's now arrived in and still no sign of Campbell. Something's definitely up. Looking at the results for the leg, Neil Ross the winner ahead of Jason Scott. But where's Campbell?
Jason, you made up 2 places today, 4th.
Yeah, yep, and just up here 3rd. We wonder where Chris got to. He must have gone up the other river and back down again, I'd say.
So what happened, Chris?
Oh, we just spun out. Neil said that his boats never spin out, but I suppose if you're really getting into them, they do. No, it was our own fault, really. We just went around a real tight one and it just went... And we corrected it again and it just sucked onto the bottom and we got this big lump of grass in the grill, but we got her out and after a bit of a shower, and I've had these clothes on all week anyway, so they needed a wash. They were my lucky jocks, but now they're not.
You're running pretty well for a small sport jet boat.
That's right, yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize the potential that these little boats have got. And in this game, consistency is what gets you up the ladder.
So with just 2 legs to go, it's Neil Ross looking good to retain his title. Campbell still leads unlimited from Scott, while Ross Bailey leads Class B with Gary Sutherland in charge in Class C. Brendan Cameron leads the 2-horse race for D Honours and Crinook in the sport jet. It's the home straight of the Christchurch Helicopters Jet Boat Championships. Straight may not be the best term though. The marathon finishes with 2 hard-out runs up and down the famous Karado and Shotover rivers. NZ1 may look ungainly in the tight and narrow gorge, but right now Neil Ross could win on a lilo. Chris Campbell is the same. Unlimited is his to win. All he's got to do is stay off the rocks. Jason Scott, though, still hasn't given up the fight. Just look at his speed compared to Ross Bailey and Daniel Anderson, who come afterwards. With Karado Jet on the side of his boat, Sean Kelly is expected to thrill through these legs, and he doesn't disappoint, taking nearly a minute off Daniel Anderson. But for the likes of Gary Sutherland, it's just a matter of getting to the finish. Same for Brendan Cameron. They're well in control of their classes. So's Rob Crinook. These 2 legs are basically like a lap of honour, except on a roller coaster. But there's still time for surprises like Sean Kelly being beaten by Jason Scott on the Karado. The final leg takes the field back down to the lake and Queenstown Bay. Neil Ross couldn't have made a better showing. He stayed both in front and dry for the entire race. With a 16-minute buffer over Chris Campbell, Ross can enjoy the last run. So can Campbell. He's won the Unlimited title. Not bad for a rookie. Ross Bailey has not only bagged the Class B title, He's grabbed 3rd place overall. Jason Scott and Sean Kelly will leave this year's race wondering what could have been. Both, like Neville Kelly, were unbeatable, but lacked either reliability or consistency. The same, though, could be said for Gary Sutherland, but he won Class C. And you can guarantee come next year's World Champs, this man, Rob Critic, will be a force to be reckoned with. But holding on to NZ1 for another year is the Marathon King, Neil Ross. But somehow Jason Scott still manages to get in the last word, blitzing the field on the final leg. So an impressive finish for Scott and Bonner Anderson, but the race belonged to Neil Ross.
Neil, 2 championships in a row. How's it feel?
Feels absolutely great. Absolutely fantastic.
Did you think when you came here a week ago that it was going to be this easy?
Well, to be honest, for us it's been harder than if we had to really push it. I mean, trying to pace ourselves and not make a mistake. I mean, we knew we could do it. And it's so hard when you know that you just can't afford to make a mistake, and that's normally when you do.
What could have been except for the Dark River, eh?
Yeah, definitely. You know, we got here and it's a challenge in itself.
You've been certainly making up some time over the last few days.
Yeah, you know, we've got nothing to lose. We've been charging hard. It's been good shakedown.
Neil Ross winning the overall title and the A-class title. Chris Campbell second, but as you can see, he won the unlimited class. Class B was won by Ross Bailey, Gary Sutherland, the king of Class C. Brendan Cameron winning D-class, Rob Crunick, the Sport Jet.